Hare Krishna. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda, all glories to the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the assembled devotees of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. This association was started about a year ago, maybe longer. Actually, it's been in development for many years by many of us. And it came together by the grace of Krishna. And this is a great blessing for all of us, because the association of devotees and the opportunity to hear the philosophy of Śrīla Prabhupada from his disciples is one of the principles of spiritual practice that we need. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And this opportunity to associate with the followers of Śrīla Prabhupada, that's the idea behind the Prabhupada Disciples Association, is to collect together devotees of the same mentality. Prabhupada used the example of birds of the same feather flock together. And we're working progressively week after week to build this community of devotees. It may be somewhat disappointing in a sense that there are so few people that do attend the class and discussion, the reading and discussions, considering the quality of the presentation. I tell people, well, if you don't like, sometimes people complain, oh, I don't find this very interesting or whatever. Well, okay, go ahead. Don't come. Go somewhere else. Go listen to Bhaktivedanta in Russia, or go to see Radhanath and listen to him. You know, everyone has independent free will to choose what they want to do. And people will do what they want to do in this narcissistic, self-centered, egotistical society that we live in, where people are basically insane. And this is the situation. You know, in our particular situation as Prabhupada disciples, we look at the way the society has evolved after Prabhupada's demise, and many of us come to the conclusion it's completely insane. It's a mad house of philosophical deviation, pathetic. And there may be frustration, there may be disappointment, but at the same time, this is Krishna's plan, somehow or other, so that at least some of us get an idea of what this philosophy is and what we're supposed to do with it in protecting Prabhupada's legacy. That's the business here. You know, there's all kinds of fault finders. When I used to work full time in the temple as a president and as a cook and whatever else I was required to do, I used to experience a lot of fault finding that just went on by the nature of the human being. And to be honest, it was a real disgusting experience. And we all know the story of Ramachandra Puri and how the devotees didn't like to even have him in their association. They didn't want him around. It was so despicable. Fault finding, not fact finding, fault finding. I don't like this person because I don't like the way their tilak is put on, or whatever other reason that you have as a mundane mind to deal with other people, even though we're insignificant people in this universe, so lost, And you get the chance to get association, and then you fault find. Oh, I don't like. Okay, that's all right. Be a fault finder and go find people that you are compatible with and be with them and carry on with your spiritual life, whatever it is. So we're very fortunate, everyone, to have a wonderful group of devotees in the Prabhupada Disciples Association. And we'll keep marching forward. We're not going to stop, irrespective of what the dogs do. Let them bark while the camel train passes on through the village and carries on to their destination, which is the lotus feet of our spiritual master, who performed so many austerities when he first came to the West. It was extraordinarily difficult, but he was never discouraged from carrying out the order of his spiritual master, Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami. And we're reading from the original diaries, and we're at the end of the beginning, the second section. And today we're going to read an excerpt from an interview with Newsday newspaper in New York on July 14th, 1976. So Prabhupada's there and he goes, give him a chair. They give. So this is for the interviewer and Romeshwar. These gentlemen are a reporter and a photographer from a very large newspaper in Long Island called Newsday. This is Mr. Kevin Lehart. So Prabhupada interjects, so they require a chair? And Romeshwar is, trying to explain to them for whatever reason. He's asking you if you'd like a chair. And the interviewer goes, no, this is all right. And Romeshwar says, this is Mr. Bill Sem. He's a photographer from their newspaper. And Prabhupada goes, thank you, sit down. You've seen our books? Interviewer, yes, I have. You translated all of those. He pauses and breaks. I wonder if you could tell me how you came to founding the movement here in the United States. Prabhupada, I was ordered by my spiritual master to do this work. So on his order, I came in 1965. So this is our mentality in this group. Same as Prabhupada's mentality in terms of his guru and the Gaudiya Math. That is the beginning of this. I came alone with no help, no money. Somehow or other, and he chuckles, I started. Interviewer, how did you attract people? You landed in New York? Prabhupada, my attraction is this chanting, that's all. Interviewer, did you stand on a street corner and chant? Prabhupada, yes, I had no magic, just like others. They say some show some magic. I never showed any magic. Interviewer, no, I understand that. Balimardan, Tompkins Park. Prabhupada, by Tompkins Park, I was chanting. And these boys gradually came. First picture was published by the New York Times. Then we started branches in San Francisco, in Montreal, Boston, and then Los Angeles in this way. So he was very progressive, no waste of time. Interviewer, so you just chanted in Tompkins Park and people came? Prabhupada, yes, I was underneath a tree. I think the picture was published by The Voice, that Voice, very big article published. Interviewer, what did you have to offer then? If you were chanting in the park and I said, What are you doing? Why are you chanting? What's your thing here? So Bali Mardan's trying to translate. He said, what did you have to offer? And here once again, Rameshwar inserts. Very interesting, eh? How his disciples are trying to help him. They should have helped themselves. Rameshwar, he said, if someone had come up to you while you were chanting and said, why are you doing this? What are you offering? How would you have replied? Prabhupada, they came and joined me and began to dance. That's all. That is the beginning. Rameshwar, but what if they asked you, what is this all about? Prabhupada, no, this is for spiritual realization. If you chant, then gradually you realize yourself that you are a spiritual being. You are not this body. Then his spiritual life begins. Actually, human being is meant for spiritual realization. And if one does not spiritually realize his identity, then he remains an animal. This is the difference between animal and man. Man is supposed to be spiritually realized. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda and his preaching in the early days. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, the bhajan. And then we'll have our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class from California, Twain Harte. We just had guests there with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. It was a really ecstatic meeting of devotees in Twain Harte. And then we'll have the discussion and reading with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and then our input from the other God brothers and God sisters in this online Zoom meeting. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jai Amuspat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai, Nāma-ācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Bhagavanath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Śrīla Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam udirayet, Tato jayam udirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every Sunday, we read a few select verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, specifically from the second canto, from the first canto, chapter 2, where the discussion between Sutta Goswami and the great sages of Naimisharanya explained what is the meaning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and why it is so important. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 16. Shushrushoho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipraha Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees completely freed from all ranges of vices, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Text 17. Shrinvatam svakata Krishnaha punya shravana kirtanaha hridyantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18. Nashtaprayeshu ababadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama-shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tadarajastamu bhavaha kamalo bhadayaschaye chetaetera navidham stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man, affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord, can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Text 21. Vidyate hridaya grantish chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishware. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated, along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Last week I mistakenly read from a different verse. I apologize for that. This week we will be reading Canto 1, Chapter 3, text number 32, and probably text number 33. They're both related. Ataparak yavadvyaktam abudha guna brimhitam adrishta ashruta vastu tvatsajiva yat punarabhavam ataha. This param, beyond, yat, which, avyaktam, non-manifested, abhuda, without formal shape, guna brimhita, affected by the qualities, adrishta, unseen, ashruta, unheard, vastutvat, being like that, sa, that, jiva, living being, yat, that which, punarabhavam, takes birth repeatedly. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Beyond this gross conception of form, there is an other, subtle conception of form which is without any formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and non-manifested. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety. Otherwise, how is it possible for repetition of births? I'd like to mention all English synonyms, translation, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. As the gross cosmic manifestation is imposed as the gigantic body of the Lord, so also there are others who conceive of the subtle form of him, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of body are in relation with the living being. The living being as his spiritual form beyond this gross material or subtle psychic existence. The gross body and psychic function cease to act as soon as the living being leaves the visible gross body. And still we say that the living being has gone away, although he is still unseen, unheard. Even the gross body not acting when the living being is in sound sleep, we can know that he is within the body by the sound of sleeping inhalation. So the living being passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. It is there, otherwise how can he repeat his births again and again? The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent. It is transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle, like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared with such gross and subtle bodies of the living being. All such conception of God's body are different types of imagination only. The living being as his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. Text 33. Yatra ime sadasadurupe pratisiddhe svasamvida avidyatmani kriteti tad brahma iti tad brahma darshanam yatra, whenever, ime, in all these, sadasad, gross and subtle, rupe, in the forms of, pratisiddhe, on being nullified, sasamvida, by self-realization, avidyaya, by ignorance, atmani, in the self, krite, having been imposed, iti, thus, tad, that is, brahmadarshanam, the process of seeing the absolute. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time, such experienced person sees himself as well as the Lord. Purport. The difference between self-realization and being covered by material illusion is to know that the temporary or illusory imposition of material energy in the shape of gross and subtle bodies are superficial coverings of the self. The coverings take place on account of ignorance of the individual living entities, while the same covering is never effective in the person of the personality of Godhead. Knowing this fact convincingly is called liberation or seeing the absolute. This means perfect self-realization is made possible by addiction of godly or spiritual life. This self-realization means to become indifferent in the matter of the needs of the gross and subtle bodies and be serious in the matter of the activities of the self. The impetus of activities are generated from the bottom of the self, but such activities become illusory on account of ignorance of the real position of the self. By ignorance, self-interest is calculated in terms of the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore the whole set of activities in such illusion are spoiled life after life. When, however, one meets the self by proper culture, the activities of the self begins, and therefore a man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called a Jivan Mukta, or the liberated person, even in conditional existence. The perfect stage of self-realization is attained not by any other artificial means, but under the lotus feet of the Lord, who is always in transcendental position. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he is present in everyone's heart, and from him only all knowledge, remembrance, or forgetfulness takes place. When the living being desires to be an enjoyer of the material energy, illusory phenomenon, the Lord covers the living being in the mystery of forgetfulness, and thus the living being misappreciates the gross body and subtle mind in the place of his own self. And by culture of transcendental knowledge, when the same living being prays to the Lord for deliverance from the clutches of forgetfulness, the Lord, by his causeless mercy, removes the living being's illusory curtain, and he realizes his own self. He then engages himself in the service of the Lord in his eternal constitutional position, becoming liberated from the conditioned life. All these are executed by the Lord through the agency of either his internal potency or directly by the internal potency. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances, we all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with a torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunata Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Recently, one devotee related to me an incident which he had with Śrīla Prabhupāda. He was on a morning walk with Śrīla Prabhupāda, and he asked Śrīla Prabhupāda about the Swarup Siddhi, one's relationship with Krishna, the perfection of one's relationship. Prabhupada's reply was, first you understand that you're not the body, then we will see about Swarup Siddhi. when we read these two purports, basically it deals with the position of the soul, knowledge of the soul, the difference between the body of the soul, and what does it mean, the difference between conditional life and liberated life. Liberated life means to be engaged with body, minds, and words in serving Krishna, under the guidance and authority of the bona fide, authorized spiritual master. It's quite significant that Śrīla Prabhupāda, when we study his method of preaching, you can look at his lectures, various conversations, numerous letters. Prabhupada repeatedly, again and again, comes back to this point of the difference between the body and the soul. How to understand that we are not the body. This is a very important point. You look throughout Prabhupada's books and you study carefully, this point is being made every single day by His Divine Grace. Why? Somebody may say, well, why does he keep repeating this point again and again? Because we are conditioned living beings. And in order to become non-conditioned or liberated, we have to thoroughly and completely understand and realize this point. Unless we understand this point, there's the big danger that somebody will become a sahajya, somebody who takes everything very cheaply, trying to jump like monkeys. Interestingly, a few days ago, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu and I call him Bhakta Ram instead of Bhakta Ran. Bhakta Ram, we took a drive in the mountains beyond our location here. Our location here is approximately 1,300 meters or about 4,000 feet above sea level, ASL. When you start going up the road, incidentally, the road here, which leads up and down this area, is called Highway 108. We went to a place called Long Barn, and we took a drive. And as we were driving, we started to discuss a few things about India, where Śrīla Prabhupada mentions in some of his purports about great personalities like Vyasadeva, personalities like Parashuram, Hanuman. In India, in the Vedas, in the Puranas, there is mention of Chiranjeev. Chiranjeev means people who are immortal. Immortal in the sense that they will live. They're not fallible living beings like we are. There's called Sapta, sometimes Ashta Chiranjeev, or 7 or 8 great personalities that will live. And when the Kali Yuga will begin again, when the Satya Yuga will begin again, they will take positions in the new transcendental administration of the Satya Yuga. Just like it is stated that Parashuram is still living. He lives near the border of Orissa and Andhra Pradesh. Vyasadeva is also still living near Badrinath. He has his special place there. Of course, if one goes there, one can physically go there. Of course, if you're a Westerner, you won't be allowed to go all the way there. Only people, Indians, will be going there because of the border with China. I once tried to go there. They say, no, you can't go there. You can't go there. All foreigners are forbidden to go to this Vyasaguya, the place where Vyasadeva is living, because it is up the mountains from Badrinath, they say, because China is very close, we don't want you to go there. Okay, thank you. Then there is this situation with Vibhishana. Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana, after he surrendered to Lord Rama in the Ramayana, and Lord Rama went from Lanka to Ayodhya, he blessed Vibhishana that you remain here as the king of Lanka. It is said that he's still living. Another one is Ashwatthama. Now somebody say, but Ashwatthama did a horrible deed. by trying to kill the sons of the Pandavas. Very, very bad. He was arrested by Arjuna, and there was all kinds of discussions in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in Canto 1, Chapter 7. And it's very important. Krishna called him a Brahma Bandhu. So he was cursed by Krishna himself that you will live an immortal life, but you will suffer every day with sores and painful skin condition, blood oozing from your body. It says that he will still also live like that. So there are 7 great personalities in South India. At the tip of South India, between the bottom of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, there's a great sage named Agastya Muni. He's said to be still living there. I often related the story how the brother of Madhvacharya, Vishnu Tirtha, is said to be still living. The Madhvacharyas, the Madhvas, have a book called Sampradaya Paddhati that was compiled by some of their acharyas, and they describe how Vishnu Tirtha, the brother of Madhvacharya, he's still living, that he will live for another 30,000 years in a place called Subramanya. He lives in a cave in a jungle, and when Madhvacharya left, before he left his body, he had his teachings put on copper plates. So this Vishnu Tirtha lives there, said to be, he will live there for another 30,000 years, minus about 950 since he was born, as the brother of Madhvacharya. So another great personality who still lived there. So there are great personalities, great transcendental personalities living there. It's important to note that in our Chaitanya Bhagavata, this Vrindavan Das Thakur mentioned in one verse in Sanskrit, Adyapiha Lila Koro, that this Lila of Lord Chaitanya is still manifested. That book was finished after the departure of Lord Chaitanya in 1534 AD. So he's mentioning that after this departure of Lord Chaitanya, it is still being experienced by some Vaishnavas, some fortunate souls. In the history of our Sampradaya, the wife of Lord Nityananda, Janavamata, after the departure of the Panchatattva and Lord Chaitanya, she convened a big meeting in Bangladesh, in the place of Narottam Das Thakur called Keturi. And it is said that all the Vaishnavas, all the important Gaudiya Vaishnavas came there. They had a big festival, huge festival, where she personally cooked for the Vaishnavas, and she personally gave big lecture presentation. It is said that the Panchatattva, Lord Chaitanya and his associates, they personally came and danced, and this was seen directly by so many participants in that great festival. So spiritual life, it is not that we think that the Acharya or Krishna is gone and dead, is dead and gone. Some of you may be familiar, in 1990, there was a so-called debate. I call so-called debate because before that discussion, they placed all kinds of nonsensical restrictions, but they called it a debate in San Diego, California. And one of the participants from the other side, the anti-party, mentioned, so you people are talking like Prabhupada is here present. So why don't you send a letter to Prabhupada and tell us what he replies? And I wanted to say at the time, which I was restricted, why don't you offer Krishna some prasadam and see if it's still there after 15 minutes? So do you conclude if the bhoga is still done on the altar, there's no Krishna? These are nonsensical atheistic ideas. As part of our discussions here, and now the Dharma Bhavana and so many devotees, do you know this point very well? We've had discussions how in Atlanta, Georgia in 1975, on the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada was explaining the great contribution of his Guru Maharaj to the cause of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And at one point he declared, it is not that he's dead and gone. This is not spiritual understanding, unquote. Now, the atheistic class of men, the doubtful class of men, the sahaja class of men, and foolish class of men, or those with a poor fund of knowledge, they conclude, oh, if I can't see it, it must not exist. If Prabhupada is not here physically, if I can't go directly to his room and talking to him, he must not be here. That is another foolishness. Again, many devotees are familiar with that famous letter from Śrīla Prabhupāda, where someone asked Prabhupada that you said once that you will stay in this universe until all your disciples are liberated. So what is that? Prabhupada says, yes, that is correct. I will remain here until all my disciples are liberated. Of course, in some cases, in some particular cases, it may take a little bit longer than others, but that is a different discussion for another day. Many times I've been asked the question, even recently, oh, what is your view or what is your understanding about such and such devotees or such and such group of devotees and such institution? Are they going to go to hell? Are they going to be liberated? Or this and that? And my usual first response is, well, it's not my position or any devotee's position to pass judgment on the future of any Vaishnavas. We will leave that to authorities like Krishna, Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Śrīla Prabhupāda, or in some cases, Yamaraj and his assistants, Chitragupta. They're pretty qualified to take that job, to administer proper justice as far as future position of people. We know that. Every devotee knows that. It is not fair or intelligent to launch outlandish criticism or sometimes blasphemies of other people. But having said that, one should not be less intelligent. Just like in the purport in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the first canto, in the discussion of Ashwatthama, what to do with Ashwatthama. Because the lady, Kunti, said, well, he's the son of a Brahmin, and he should be treated properly. He should be shown proper respect as the son of a Brahmin. And then Arjuna wanted to kill him. Bhima was furious with him, wanted to kill him. And Krishna says, you have to act accordingly. And there's a nice Sanskrit word used called Brahmabandhu. He's not really a Brahmin by his behavior. He's a friend of the Brahmin. So now what we're facing now at this stage in Kali Yuga, we have a lot of Guru Bandhus. There's Brahma Bandhus, and now we have Guru Bandhus, or persons who consider themselves very qualified, very knowledgeable, whatever kind of adhikari or platform they consider themselves, but that by their behaviors, how they treat women, how they treat children, how they handle their gurukuls, how they treat the cows or mistreat the cows, how they make outlandish statements occasionally, how they handle the assets that have been sent in that organization. We can often tell that the word Guru Bandhu may be more applicable than actual Guru. Guru Bandhu, friend of the Guru. Just like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a place in the Madhya Lila where Krishnadas Kaviraj used the word Upashishya. Shishya means disciple. Upashishya means a sympathizer. He's not really a complete, proper disciple, but because he's sympathetic, he's supportive of the cause, it's called Upashishya. So we have to become proper disciples. And this is what Prabhupada is telling us in these kind of verses, to learn how to differentiate between the soul and the body. And this is a very important point because we see, just like Vishwakarma Prabhu was saying, the condition in the material world is like a madhouse. Everybody is running, trying to enjoy their senses, trying to acquire wealth for sense gratification. There's conflict, constant conflict between individuals, between families, between communities, between states, between nations, wars, all kinds of problems. Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And this is where Śrīla Prabhupāda comes in. He came at this particular time in history to bring the message of Lord Chaitanya in the Maha Mantra. We all know the story of how in one conversation Śrīla Prabhupada was asked, why is it that Lord Chaitanya did not take the message of Krishna consciousness to the West himself? And Prabhupada's replies, he left the credit for me. All the devotees laughed. It is so true. But in order to do this kind of work, it takes an extraordinary personalities. Look at what we've been reading. Vishwakarma Prabhu has been reading from Prabhupada's diary, all the austerities, all the difficulties Prabhupada was facing for the first year and a half, 2 years. Very, very troublesome. Very cold in New York. So many difficulties, moving from one place to the other in the beginning, at the mercy of some so-called yoga teacher with different persons who would invite him and he would have to leave. Eventually, he got the little storefront at 26 2nd Avenue. People gradually came, but it was not an immediate success. It took time, but he was absolutely unfazed. This is the difference between a liberated soul and a conditioned soul. Prabhupada was a perfect, utmost paramamsa. He was not affected by any of the conditions. Contrary with some persons with a poor fund of knowledge, where they describe Prabhupada as somebody who became a great devotee, who somewhere or other became an Uttamadhikari Mahabhagavata. No, he always was a Mahabhagavata. There is a letter Prabhupada wrote to one of his disciples that at this lifetime, I never forgot Krishna. Although I had plenty of opportunity for sense gratification, I never forgot Krishna. Never engage in any sinful activities. That is a very exalted position. So Śrīla Prabhupada showed his determination. Everybody knows that long journey on the Jaladuta from India to America, Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks. Some way or other he survived by Lord Krishna's mercy. Some of you may have seen that painting, a painting which was made by based on a dream which Śrīla Prabhupada related, that after he had a heart attack, Lord Krishna came and massaged his heart. And the boat was being rowed by the 10 avatars, by the 10 incarnations, because Krishna was arranging to bring Śrīla Prabhupada to America. He was the chosen ambassador, the chosen representative of Lord Krishna to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya on this planet, all over the world. This is a very special position. We see some people from various neo-mats, they put the list of members of the disciplic succession, and instead of using the word Prabhupada for A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, they just call him Swami Maharaj, or just A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. No, that is not acceptable. That is a sign of envy. That is a sign of maliciousness, of resentfulness. Why do we call him Śrīla Prabhupada? On account of his accomplishments of fulfilling the mission of Lord Chaitanya, of fulfilling the mission of Srila Rupa Goswami, of fulfilling the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, taking all risk, coming to preach Krishna consciousness, writing these books, only sleeping 2 or 3 hours a day. That is a very exalted personality. One godbrother recently sent me a video of another godbrother attending a japa. He was chanting japa and falling asleep. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. I see. Okay. That kind of japa may not be so helpful. While it is not our position to judge or criticize anybody, if somebody is acting as a guru or so-called guru, at least they should make an effort to stay awake while chanting japa. and not put that nonsense on their website claiming that there is some kind of special adhikari. That is a guru bandhu, not an actual bona fide guru. We have to remember who we're dealing with here. We are dealing with Śrīla Prabhupada and his transcendental message and his transcendental books. There is one conversation in a letter, I believe, where Prabhupada said, these books, in other words, his books, will do everything. Our whole preaching is based upon these books. I often relate the story when Śrīla Prabhupada made Aham Sadhuta Prabhu a BBT trustee. Aham Sadhuta replied he was hesitant to accept the position. He says, you have so many other disciples who are much more qualified, much more educated and capable to do this. Why are you asking me? Prabhupada said, because you have understood the importance of distributing, of publishing and distributing my books. And then Prabhupada told him, the devotees may fail, the temples may fail, but my books will never fail. Now, this is important in the current context because we see various disturbances, all different kinds of sahajiya behaviors, crazy behaviors, abuse of children, abuse of cows, abuse of women, kicking out devotees, banning, beating, suing, all kinds of irregular, nonsensical activities from the Guru Bandhu crowd. There's nothing to be disturbed about. It is unfortunate on their part, but we have the shelter of the Vani incarnation of Śrīla Prabhupada, his original books. This is important. We can take shelter of Śrīla Prabhupada, and very, very important message. I see that our good friend Narasimha Prabhu from Cedarville, California, with his Varnashram project has joined us in this. I'm sure Vishwakarma Prabhu, you can ask him to say a few words at some point. He's a very learned, very important devotee. Kindly allow him to speak a little bit later. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Most definitely, Prabhu. And thank you so much for your very interesting discussion on these topics from Srimad Bhagavatam to give us insight into who we are as spirit souls beyond the conception of the material elements. And it's interesting to note that prior to Prabhupada's appearance in the Western world, most people had no understanding of the subtle body, that it even existed. We certainly never were taught that in school. I attended the Catholic school system here in Hamilton, and I never once heard that along with the gross body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, which is the conception of the living entity, is that we're the body of these material elements. The understanding that we have a subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And the business of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing, the intelligence for discrimination and choice, and false ego, the false identification that I'm this particular nationality, which is all pervasive. Nationalism. I love Canada. I love America, America the Great. These conceptions that we are a particular nationality is a big illusion. I was speaking to a friend earlier today about material success, how people are so ambitious for material success. They think if I become famous. If I become rich, I'll be happy. Look at the case of in America of this famous comedian, Robin Williams. I think it was Robin Williams. And he was a very successful person. And what did he do in the end after a life of hard work? He committed suicide. Why? Because these false identifications with material fame, wealth, identity with a particular nation or a particular position in this world based on fame are an illusion. And Prabhupada introduced this understanding through the Bhagavad Gita, that there is the mind, there is the intelligence, and a false ego. And above that, the soul and the super soul. And this is a great gift from Krishna through Prabhupada to mankind, to get a proper understanding of who we are, why we were born, and what is the true purpose of life. And a few of us, by his mercy, at least have started on the path back home, back to Godhead, and not become subjected to the confusion of a false identity with this material world and material ambition. Text 32, just to review that quickly, the translation: beyond this gross conception of form, there is another conception of form which is without any formal shape, and it is unseen, unheard, and unmanifested. The living being has his form beyond this subtly. Otherwise, how is it possible for repetition of births? So very insightful from the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Look at the true identity of the living entity who is incarcerated in this body. It's called a prison house. The living entity is in the prison house of material life, completely lost in the journey of time. Right? There are three aspects to time, as we all know: past, present, and future. And most people spend their time thinking about the past. Oh, I did this, I went there, I went on this vacation, I saw these people, I did these things, I got drunk in the Barbados, I took a flight to Africa, etc., etc. Living in the past. The famous Canadian musician Bruce Cockburn, he said, living in the past is not living at all. So like that, very profound understanding of the common truth that this is simply the mental plane, looking for happiness by recalling past pleasures and sufferings, happiness and distress. Matra sparsa stokonteya sitoshna sukadukada. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of the summer and winter seasons. They arise simply due to sense perception and learn tamstatikshashva bharata. One should learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. This is a proper understanding of the living entity situated in this world of dreams. We're in a dream state here. There's an expression, living the dream. Yeah, that's what we are doing, living a dream. People think, oh, this dream will become a reality. But in fact, this is a nightmare on Elm Street. Some people will say, well, that's a bit harsh. Well, do you think birth, death, disease, and old age are spiritual, heavenly experience? No, it's actually a very difficult situation that we're in. Very difficult situation. And Prabhupada is so kind. He's brought us, as we read today in the diary, the Prabhupada was an interesting conversation, wasn't it, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, where the God brothers, our disciples, are trying to help Prabhupada understand English. What arrogance. But Prabhupada, you can see how Prabhupada responded. He let them speak their stupidity. And then after, he just explained the answer without any confusion. No, he wasn't confused. He wasn't bewildered. He wasn't capable. He was capable of understanding the English language, you idiots. Like, shut your mouth. So revealing these points. Of course, this was the arrogance of those people back then. Arrogance, stupidity, neophyte behavior. And it comes right out in the conversation. I'm thinking, at least you could have kept your mouth shut. But Prabhupada just simply said, yes, I went to Tompkins Square Park and I chanted Hare Krishna, and this is how this movement got started. He simply took the order of Lord Chaitanya as delivered to him from Bhaktisiddhanta and executed that order in a very humble, simple way back then in 1966. And in this way, this billion-dollar movement has evolved to the year 2023. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, Prabhu, it has become misdirected by a few ambitious, foolish, stupid people. Maybe you could comment further, Yaśodā.
There's a very interesting lecture that Śrīla Prabhupāda had in Montreal, Canada, on October 23rd, 1968. October 23rd, 1968. I'm just going to read a few excerpts. I just posted on the chat, anybody can see, a few of the excerpts there. It's just a very interesting comments that Śrīla Prabhupada made about this topic that we're discussing in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, about the difference between the body and the soul. Śrīla Prabhupada says, Pramata means crazy, mad. Pramato nidanam, distraction. Nidanam pasyan. Pasyan means, although he's seeing every day, every moment. Just like Maharaja Yudhishthira was questioned by Yamaraj, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? Can you say? Maharaj Yudhishthira immediately replied, what is that? Ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam. Every moment, every second, every day, every night, there are so many hundreds and thousands of living entities. They are going to the temple of death or dying. Ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam sheshahastavaramichanti. But one who is living is thinking that I will not die. I will live for good. That is the most wonderful thing in this world. Nobody is taking experience that I will have to meet death. And what is next after death? What I was before my birth. Why am I here? Why am I struggling so hard? I want to be happy. I want to be peaceful. Why there is no peace? Why there is no happiness? Why these things? Why am I put into this? These are called Atma Tattvam. These are called Brahma Jignasa. If a man is not enlightened to this point of inquiring of this, what am I? Wherefrom I am coming? What is this world? What is this body? Why am I getting old? Why am I getting disease? So many whys there are. This is called Brahma Jignasa. But they are pramata. They are mad after the struggle for existence. Although they know nothing will exist, it has come just like a flash, and it will end like a flash, then what is the actual platform of my life, my living condition? They do not inquire. They do not inquire, and so on. It's a very beautiful lecture, which I've sent it to a few people on this chat. If anybody wants the full lecture, send me an email at yasoda1008@yahoo.com, and I will forward it to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, and so much information from the Shastras, from Prabhupada on this matter, and through the association of his disciples, we also get further insights. We have with us Nrsinga Prabhu from California with us on the call today, and he's a senior disciple of Śrīla Prabhupada by age and by time. And maybe you could share some of your insights in terms of these verses for the benefit of our membership here today, Prabhu. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
I don't see him in the participants list. I think he may have dropped off.
Oh, okay. No problem. Sorry about
I guess
that.
he blessed us by his presence for a few minutes, and we can ask somebody else to make comment.
Yes, we can. Actually, Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Good to see you again today, Prabhu, and thank you for your consistent association in this assembly of devotees. Maybe you could further comment on our topic today about rising above the illusion that we are the body and this false identification with our nationality.
Yeah, I was just thinking some things that relate to our class today, maybe a little bit different in how by studying Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, especially in the association of devotees, it helps us to see the difference between what is material and what is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like somebody may go to a building or a temple, and there may be singing and dancing and different types of what looks like spiritual activities. And from a guest point of view, they may not really know. They see, oh, this looks pretty nice. It's a temple. I feel comfortable here. But someone who is a little bit more educated is what the purpose of the whole of the management is. They may understand that actually it's quite material, because either the personality of Godhead is offended in some way, or the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead is offended in some way. So in this way, something could look very spiritual, but actually in Kali Yuga, there's so many terrible situations going on, like we've spoken of in the class today. There are a lot of times the great acharyas, they're made to look like ordinary people. Someone may be envious of them. Someone may be trying to be a follower. They may be misled into thinking that, oh, they're ordinary. Their writings could be adjusted. They could be edited and changed. I remember how Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was speaking a few weeks ago, how there was a question of, there was some Gaudiya Math books, and devotees asked, can we read these? And Prabhupada said, why don't you look at the date and see when they were published? Was it pre-1936 or post-1936? And if it was post-1936, if I remember correctly, the idea was that devotees shouldn't be reading them because the spiritual potency is not there. Maybe even the philosophy was changed.
Mm-hmm.
So in this way, I myself am experiencing this on a daily basis. We have so many situations here in Dallas, and I'm trying to explain to the devotees the difference between something material and spiritual. Unless we're really solidly educated, we're not going to know the difference in some cases. So I'm trying to get more of the members to join our programs. So I'm just now bringing that up to date on East Agosi. If that's okay with y'all, I want to have more and more people come to the Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday classes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, really, it's a campaign for all of us to bring people to this sadhana program so that they can hear the philosophy properly. There's a Prabhu from India, his name is Tirtha, who's got in touch with me last night. He has a huge list of devotees that he's dealing with on legal matters in India. in terms of this current controversy with the Gandhi family and the cow protection program in India. Okay, fine. I saw some of his information. But my first Dharma Bhavana, my first inclination was, well, if you want to know what we're about, if you want to know who we are as a group, come to the class. This is what the essence of our philosophy is. The essence of our philosophy is to hear the philosophy and association of like-minded God brothers and God sisters. Then you go from there. First, you water the plant from the ground, to the roots. You water the plant at the roots, and then you can deal with the issues that exist in this world, whether they're outside of ISKCON or inside ISKCON or any other group. If you're Krishna conscious, and you become Krishna conscious by getting the association of like-minded devotees who are Prabhupada focused, period. Jonas Priya in Hawaii, I see you're on the call. Had some kind of, I didn't see your name. I didn't recognize it, but our godbrother Vinkat Bhatta recognized it for me. Maybe you could share some insights to our group this morning on these verses and our particular discussion that we're having. Jonas Priya, are you there? Sounds like he's having a bit of technical difficulty. Can you turn on your microphone, Prabhu? Please. Okay, we'll wait for him to try to get his technology working. Vinkat Bhatta, brother, Haribol, could you maybe read from the section in the chat from Yaśodā-nandana some insights for us, just to get a further appreciation of today's topics?
Yeah, sure. This is from that same lecture we just read from, so let me open that.
Okay, thank you.
So why now apashyatam atma tattvam, they do not know what is self-realization. Apashyatam, cannot see. Their vision is very poor. Why? They are thinking this body is self. Therefore, they are very poorly thoughtful. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in another place, it is stated, Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridha tuke. Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:84-13. Every day we are experiencing that I'm not this body. The body is growing. I'm still there. There are so many instances, but we cannot understand that we are not this body. Apashyatam atma tattvam. Atma means the Atma. That was one excerpt, and then there was one more.
Okay, please.
The other one is Maharaj Yudhishthira. Let me just open that. It's from the same lecture. Oh yeah, I mean that was already read. What is the most wonderful thing, and then
Okay.
that every day people are dying. So
All right.
I think Janaspeer Prabhu is ready to speak now.
He's got his
Hare
microphone. You
Can
got
you
your
hear?
microphone? Yeah, we can. Your microphone's working again.
Yeah. Okay.
Congratulations.
Hare Krishna, Lord Śrīla Prabhupāda. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again for putting this effort and producing these programs. It's amazing. Yeah, Yasoda-nanda was telling the story about Janava Devi. And I wanted to ask him, do that comes from Chaitanya Charitamrita? Is it Chaitanya Mangala? No, it's another book. It's a book that was written after the disappearance of the Goswamis, where there was one of the Acharyas and of Gaudiya Sampradaya who wrote the history of the 6 Goswamis, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda, all these great devotees. So he explained that meeting in Keturi, Bangladesh, where all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas went there under the leadership of Janavamata, because being the wife of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, she was highly regarded in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. This took place several decades, my understanding, several decades after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 1534 AD. The point is that at that meeting, it was well documented that everybody experienced that the entire Panchatattva were actually physically dancing in front of all the devotees. Very important.
Yeah, I love that story. I heard it long time ago, but I could never get a source where it came from. Yeah, my understanding is that Janavadevi actually, there were different fractions between the followers of different personalities of Panchatattva. Dvaitacharya has the biggest crowd of following, and they all have different groups. And she came and said, why don't we worship together? And she put the Panchatattva as we know it together for the first time, and had the deities made. And she had, they were celebrating that particular day, they were celebrating. And all of a sudden, the deities jump off the altar into the crowd and start dancing. And this dancing went on for like a long time, many hours. So all the people that were present, they thought, oh, they're back, because it wasn't just a flash, it was hours. So all of a sudden they merged back into the deity. So they had to go again through all the feelings of separation. Like you said, this happened many years after. So they had to go again, because they thought, oh, they're back, because they were there for so long. So they had to go again through all the feelings. And so Janavadevi actually is the founder of ISKCON as we know it, with the Panchatattva and the way we worship, because she's the first one that put that together. Now, on Prabhupada, we're so fortunate that Śrīla Prabhupada followed the instructions of his Guru. He wanted to, but being a responsible householder, he had to make sure everybody in his family was well situated. And at that point, then he took sannyas, and he followed that order, and he came and he brought the pre-1936 Gaudiya Mad to us, the real Gaudiya Mad, not the fake Gaudiya Mad. Because Śrīla Prabhupada, it's the only bona fide disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as far as I understand, because he actually instructed him. He gave him the order, you go and you preach to these people. So many Swamis came before Prabhupada. And how many devotees of Krishna? I don't know one person becoming a devotee of Krishna with any of these Swamis, Paramahansa, Yogananda, blah, 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 all of them. Why? Because they were promoting Krishna. What were they? They were promoting themselves. Because that's what all these sahadiyas do. They want to be the center of attraction. And most movements are known as by the name of the Guru. Now, our society, Prabhupada, the Hare Krishna movement, is mostly known as the Hare Krishna people. That's because it's not as the Prabhupada movement. We know it like that because we know who Prabhupada was, but for the general population, Hare Krishnas, I don't think too many know who Śrīla Prabhupada was. And that's fine, because that shows us how humble and how Prabhupada didn't care to be the upfront man and to be worship and to have so many wealth at his fingertips. He never Prabhupada in the New York temple, the Henry Street temple, I was fortunate enough to go there. It was like 5 stories. And at night, Prabhupada will get up. And sometimes there was a light in the 5th floor. And Prabhupada will climb 5 steps to turn this light off and climb down to say Krishna a few pennies. This is Śrīla Prabhupada. So we should try to follow these things. Prabhupada is the real Acharya. He taught by example. He wasn't a person that said, say as I do, and didn't do himself. No, he did. And that's how we learn. So we're so very fortunate that we're trying to keep this Prabhupada legacy alive for the future generations, especially with the original books of Śrīla Prabhupada, our greatest treasure. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Yes, we want to protect the legacy of our Guru. It's actually the basis of this organization. And when we further look at the behavior of some of our colleagues, let's say, God brothers, it's very disappointing to see it. Because a lot of people, Prabhu, they're more interested in fame and money. And, the best business in the world, the biggest business in the world is religion. So if you get into a position of sort of leadership, then absolute power, absolute corruption. And this has been going on for many, many years. And, it's time that it's going to end. And so we'll carry on with our work. I see that we have a devotee from California, Rupa Manjari Devi Dasi, and she's been coming steady to the program for many, many months now. And we really appreciate your participation in our readings and discussions. I wonder if you could share some of your realizations this morning with all of us here on the call. Rupa Manjari Devi Dasi.
Yes, well, I just appreciate learning about the distinction between body and soul, because it's very easy to identify falsely with the body because we're constantly dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we hear from Śrīla Prabhupada, we know the truth, that we're eternal, that this body is just something that will come and go in the blink of an eye. And we've had so many of them already,
Mm-hmm.
millions and millions of births that we've been here in this material world. So it's very hopeful that Śrīla Prabhupada has come to tell us the truth and to give us the path back home where we don't have to take birth again. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I'm going to, unfortunately, announce that it's 11:30 here in the east and eastern part of Canada and the United States. And we've come to the end of our scheduled programming today. And we want to invite you Wednesday night. Yes, Dharma Bhavana. Yes, to everyone. Invite other people as we continue to proliferate this work of preserving Prabhupada's legacy in the association of like-minded God brothers, like all of you are, God sisters. And we truly appreciate your participation and your steady commitment to this. It makes a difference. It really does. And let's keep spreading Krishna consciousness this week. Have a big week of prasadam distribution and preaching to anyone and everyone you meet, and encourage them to take up the mission of self-realization for themselves under the guidance of Śrīla Prabhupada and his instructions and books. So we'll ask our host, Vinka Bhatta, to please bring forward the Hare Krishna mantra And we'll chant along as the ending of this program. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Where is Aprakrita? Aprakrita, où es-tu? Es-tu parti? Not there?
Thank
Okay.
you to everyone.